Cleamons atop Lake Point Towers at the City Restaurant. We're going to be talking to Tony about music, jazz, the state of it, and what's happening in Tony's life as a whole. Tony, and take this any way that it works for you. What does it mean to be a musician in the at the threshold of the 21st century?
Well, I think it's a very good thing to be any kind of creative artist in the 20th century, 21st century. Anytime that you can have a vehicle where you can release so much stress that life brings you on every day, it's a good thing because so many people don't have that vehicle.
Right.
You know, you hear every day about people, you know, talking about they wish they could do something or they wish they had some extracurricular activities outside of their normal job and family where they just can express themselves. So it's a good thing, it's a blessing to be here in this state.
Let me ask you a question. What does it mean to you? Do you have a 9-to-5 job, or is it something that doesn't exist?
No, 9-to-5 job. No. This music is 24/7. Never held a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
Never held a job, and that's a blessing because I was just so overwhelmed as a young kid with this music. My first job was when I was 11 years old. I was a chapel organist at a Catholic church. So many years ago, and it paid me $60 a week. So, you know, that was a lot of cash back then.
Right.
And, you know, as a young kid, you know, playing an instrument and then eventually being paid to do this thing. So it was like the best thing ever for me. So from that point on, that's all I've strived to do, and I've been very fortunate to do that, and very successfully so far.
Right, and just to bring clarity so that our viewers have an idea of what music means to you, what music are we talking about that you have this attachment towards? Is it anything specific, or is it just the music? The whole music scene. I don't think there's no such a thing as bad music because I truly believe that all music comes from God, and there's no evil or bad in God. Well, I'm sure New Kids on the Block come from hell.
Right.
That's me.
Sure.
Okay, now you've been doing this for some period of time.
Yes, I have.
You do a lot of standards in your program, so on and so forth. Where does it come from now? From the get-go, it came from the challenge, I'm sure, to play the standards. Where's it coming from now? What is allowing you to get that feeling to just want to play some miles, just want to play some My Funny Valentine, something like you're doing? Well, you must have played that over 5,000 times in your life or something like that.
Sure I have, sure.
Why now?
I have respect for the founders of the jazz scene. You know, sure, they're standards, and sure, they're like the Bible of music, and sure, you got to know those scriptures, and if you want to preach it, you got to know them fluently. I know the standards, and I like to play them because those stories are good stories, and they're good, clean stories, and it was at a time of life when the lyrics weren't as explicit, as vulgar as they are now, as some of them. And they told some good stories about relationship, human relationships, love stories. And so, sure, I love to play that stuff. I love to play the music. I love to tell those stories musically.
So you truly believe that there is no such thing as something that's risque, something over the edge. Music is...
Not musically, but lyrically, sure. You can take a flower and, you know, puke on it and make it ugly.
Yeah.
But still, under the puke,
there's still the flower.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, I understand that you are at position, so on and so forth,
exactly.
Musically and lyrically. Are you playing with the lyrics, or are you pretty much just...
Well, right now I'm debating whether or not I want the lyric to tell the story, or I just want to let the music flow, which is a pretty hard thing. That's what's been taking me so long, you know, trying to decide on what's the final story. You know, as an artist, and everybody wants to be a perfectionist when it comes to their own presentation. It's really kind of hard now, but most of my arrangements are just music.
Really?
Right, 95%. 95%. Now and then I tell a story, and I've got some of the best lyricists in the country, Mr. Johnny Moore, who was on an earlier interview with you guys. You know, he's written for Jackie Wilson and Tyrone Davis, just a great storyteller. So I've got some people in my camp that can help me with the lyrics if I needed the story to tell. But basically, I try to tell it with the music and the colors of the music.
Right. And you are influenced by what and by who?
Well,
before and now? Once you initially started and now, what's influencing you?
Well, initially, I've always played, and then after I got the technical side of the theory and the harmony, you know, I was influenced by the classics. But then after I heard Mahalia Jackson sing "Precious Lord," the gospel music just overtook me with just so much. And then from there, you know, listening to Miles and some of the country and western. Right now, I'm into everything, all idioms. I listen and play everything. Like I said earlier, all music is good to me.
Okay, good deal. Let me ask you a question. This is just something that I'm personally interested in. Could you say something to the mythology of the way people think about the musician in society, so on and so forth, the importance?
People that don't know how to let the power flow instead of letting the power rule them, it drives them to do decadent things, you know, drugs or alcohol abuse, you know, like which comes with a lot of musicians. You know, a lot of us died of drug overdose, alcohol, you know, AIDS, sexual STDs, and these are just some of the ways musicians are trying to find themselves and where they fit in a society that really don't know how to accept them with their unusual abilities and power. They're very powerful, man, very powerful idiom. Like you hear a lot of people say that, you know, if they don't practice the art, they'll go crazy.
Tony Cleamons, the artist. Talk to me about that, brother.
Well, right now I'm really learning.
You talk to me about. You were just talking about power. Talk to me about the power that I guess Tony Cleamons uses his power for good.
Oh, sure. Here, I'm gonna give you an example of the power of music. In a Baptist church sermon, the preacher could be preaching a sermon, and the organist can hit a certain chord behind him that can influence and put so much power through the congregation. It'll make a sister stand up and say amen and feel the power of his word.
Right.
With the music supporting it. That's just one small example. The other example is when these kids are at these rock concerts and they just out of total control once that band starts. Here, to give you a better example, in the 60s, the Flower Kids, you know, they were out of control. They were making love and, you know, everything during the concert, getting naked, running around, you know, the power of the music, man.
Historically, what events have filtered into your music? Like, I don't know, let's say the assassination of JFK or something to that effect. Or
well, you know, sure. Most events affect me, especially of that great. Oh man. What I try to do is I try to separate myself. I really try to separate myself and express myself. Well, here, let me put it this way. Sure, every event in the time that we're living in is going to affect the music. Prince, 1999.
Okay.
You know, every generation has their story to tell. And its influence is because of the events that happened at that particular time. Getting back to the 60s, the Flower Kids, you know, they were singing all the songs about I want to be free. You know, who are we? You know, forget the, you know, the establishment. You know, we are, you know, people and we want to love. Down with war. Forget the pigs. We hate the pigs, you know. Sure, the events are surrounding me. Sure, it influences the music, but I try not to get into that kind of genre because I want my music to be like classics. I try to make my music to be a classic deal, which means that it's going to live forever no matter what time it is. It's not going to be marked by a period in time or a period in time that from a special event. And that's how you come up with a classic.
Okay, just throwing this out there, I believe, what is it, Strange Fruit by
Billie Holiday. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was her. And who thinks that Billie Holiday is into social commentary? Billie Holiday's responsibility is to remark on her times. You seem to say that you're there, but it also seems like you also are trying to say you don't attach yourself too much to it.
Right, I try to alienate myself because, you know, I really don't want anything to influence the music but my passion. And that's a hard thing to do when you're living in a house with a wife and you got children and family and friends and we're living. Right. And then you want to write a piece, which means that you got to step outside of this lifestyle and try to find something, you know, that's going to make everybody feel the way you want them to feel at a particular time.
The report card on how Americans cherish their culture, be it visually or other aesthetics such as or musically. The grades 20 years ago would have been very poor. Like, Americans did not support their artists for the most part,
right,
on any medium for the most part, except in small pockets and things of that nature. Have we improved?
Yes, we have improved because we've improved because we finally realized, well, the numbers is this, the history is this. Music is one of the few products that America produced around the world that's accepted, and especially black music. Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones proved that with Michael's album. What was that album he did, Beat It On?
Thriller.
Man, Thriller. Right. Man, that album sold more records than Elvis Presley thought he could ever sell, man, which showed the world that black music, they accepted us, and they want more of it. So which means that right now artists are getting a lot of respect and a lot of money. Right now artists are making more money than they ever did. You know, Babyface just signed like $100 million deal.
Right.
Come on, man, 20 years ago, $100 million for anything.
Let me ask you a question, getting back to the fact that you are composing and about to come out with your own album for the first time in 35 years of being in the business. Any fear go along with that?
Oscar, our chef here, is
He's a what?
is a good guy. Is the best.
Is Oscar playing maracas on your album?
Yeah, he is. He's the boss. Oscar is the boss.
You're gonna have to step back a little bit.
We're still in the interview. Oscar. Okay.
You can have a seat back there, man. You're straight.
Right.
Because I'll tell you, on a personal level, I am an artist. I'm a visual artist. I paint, so on and so forth. Before a show, pins and needles, so on and so forth. You're about to come out with something that is, I mean, the longevity of it. I mean, it's here forever once you commit to it. Are you afraid, anxious, or are you just so comfortable and confident?
Well, you know what? I'm comfortable and confident and anxious. I'm not afraid because I've been doing it for too long, you know, to be afraid. No, still I do get butterflies in my stomach before I perform, but basically, once you do something for a long time, it's like second nature. It's like the blink, my eyes blink. You know, so I can do it, and I know that I'm going to show myself and try to give the best that I can to the public, and whether or not they accept it, you know, it's like, as long as you've done your best, that's it. You know, what else could you do?
I heard a comedian say this one time, and maybe you can go along with this. He said he had been doing comedy for like at least 20 years or something to that effect, and they asked him, do you get nervous and butterflies before you go out on stage, you know, because he was doing arenas and things of that nature, and he says no, because it's what I do. Do you get butterflies just before you did this set tonight?
Not really, because number one, in this atmosphere here, it's very comfortable. We have like a AAA staff here, and everybody it's like such a great team. As you just saw, Oscar, our master chef here, is just such a great team. So as far as, you know, the atmosphere is just a comfortable atmosphere to work in. So no, I don't get any butterflies. It's like, how can I keep these guys, you know, entertained? Because look, they've been hearing me for so long, it's like, Tony's just playing another song, you know, what can he do next, you know, to impress me? So
is that a challenge for you?
Yes, it's a very good challenge. It's a very relevant challenge every night. Every night I got to figure out how do I come here impressed, not only to keep the clientele impressed, but also to keep our AAA staff impressed too, because they're the best too. They're the best. They're the best, and I feel very good working with these kind of people. It makes me feel that I am the best because I'm surrounded by the cream de la cream.
What do you expect after your music? Because you're working on that now. What do you expect to happen for you and for, I guess, I don't mean to sound too daunting, for music in general in the next 5 years or something to that effect? What are we looking at?
Well,
I guess I'm asking you as a scientist of music or something like that. What do you look for?
Right now, I told you, all of my attention is going to be focused on this children's conservatory.
Exactly.
Because we need to help these children now. You know, they're at a very desperate point in their lives. We've got kids out here, man, killing kids. We have babies having babies, and in our era, you know, we didn't take guns to school. There was no need to take a gun to school, and it was because we had after-school educational programs that supported us, and we had teachers that was really concerned about us. And I feel that I can make a real positive effort out here to help these kids. One of my marketing tools is I have 2 posters. I have a poster of a kid with a gun in his hand, and I have a poster with the same kid with an instrument in his hand. And under the ones with an instrument in his hand said, you make the choice. In other words, are we going to put this gun in this kid's hand, or are we going to put this instrument in his hand? Because look, that same negative creative force that he has to pull that trigger is the same creative force that you can take and nurture and put it into any kind of context, musical, athletic, you know, whatever. But you know what? The creative force is going to exist, whether or not you try to harness it or not. And right. that's one of the things I really want to do. I want to try to harness that creative force and put it to some positive use for these kids, because so many of them are lost, man. It's just unbelievable.
Well, yeah, well, even though it doesn't necessarily manifest itself in the music, but the act of you teaching them and training them, that is where you become socially relevant once you actually, that's the...
Exactly.
Like Michael Jordan's not necessarily doing anything on the basketball court in terms of the human condition for the most part, but once he gets off the basketball court, that's once he can actually affect. Okay, I completely respect that. What else? What are you listening to? What's in your car? What's in the tape deck right now?
Oh man, I probably got all of my tracks.
All of your tracks.
Right now, I'm on a communication blackout, I want to call it. I try not to listen to everything, you know, that's going to influence me, and later on I find this little melody from Michael Jackson music that I was listening to his tape, you know, it's like in my vamp or my Zug or something. Right. So I try to, right now while I'm doing this album, I try to put myself on a communication blackout.
You know what, you mentioned something earlier once we were just talking before the interview about new ideas and new possibilities on getting your music out there. Now, you were talking about the distributors and things of that nature,
right.
Liquor and things of that nature. What put that information out there so that someone else who is in a similar situation that's about to put some music together, that they can actually think, you know what, I don't have to do it this way. Let me think about another way.
Well, right now, the scenario that I gave you earlier was that, you know, a lot of the liquor companies out here are sponsoring a lot of musical events to sell their products. You can probably, if you got a decent product, you can probably approach the liquor companies. Right now, they got their ears open and they're looking for new ideas, new concepts, and especially in any type of musical venue. And you'll be surprised at how much support you can get there.
Right.
Not only that, like I told you earlier, you know, they might take up 100,000 pieces of your material and use it to promote their product. You know, as a new artist, it would be very beneficial to both of you guys, the liquor company and you, because number one, you don't have to charge them that large fee that a major artist would charge them, you know, to do a promotional thing. And if your tracks are, let's say, pretty much fat and together and well produced, I think you could probably get a good chance.
Good deal. Are the radio companies as supportive as they need to be to launch new talent?
They want to say, and I want to feel like they are, but that's still a hard nut to crack. It's so political. It's like who you know, what you know, because we know like the most talented people we're not listening to them on the radio. You know, it's such a blunt statement.
Why is that?
Because it's about money, who you know, what you know, and it's not about talent. You know, I could take, the technology is as such today that I could take you in the studio and make you a major artist.
Well, please do.
As far as track-wise.
Right.
As far as track-wise. So, you know, they're making, and Tommy Mottola and those guys, you know, they're calling the deals on who they want to give the deals to. And it's not about talent. We know talent is 5% of this business. And it's a harsh thing to say, and it's a harsh thing for you young people out here to be hearing, but, you know, I'm going to tell you the truth, and that's the fact of the matter.
Should a person still be encouraged, and you know, in spite of that? That's kind of
Sure. You got to keep going on. Sure, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and follow a yellow brick road and all of that good stuff.
Right.
Sure, never stop. Never stop. You never know what time of day it might happen, but be prepared.
From that standpoint, is success for you? I mean, is it personal to the point where it's like it's not about all that, or not? Hey, it should be. One should be compensated for one's talents. Don't get me wrong, and I understand the practicality of that. But should a person that's a real artist, internally and outwardly, like just saying, forget all that. I'm just making music. I'm just painting pictures. I'm just picking cotton or something to that effect.
You know,
if that is the art that they want to produce.
Well, you know, right now, where I am in my life is that, you know, success is measured to me by, I had, the other night, I was playing a song, and this little old lady, senior citizen, came up and just gave me a kiss on the jaw and said, you know, I haven't heard that song in years, and it just brought back such great memories. That, to me, is success. I've had material things. I've been blessed. I've had cars. I've lived all over the world in all kind of situations, and just material stuff. You know, just material stuff. No, I don't want to ever judge my success by any materialistic deal. Success to me would be, number one, being close to God and doing what He wants me to do, the right thing. And number two, to be able to help somebody.
Sure.
I think those, and to be able to be put in a situation where I can help somebody. Here, I'm gonna give you a success. Rockefeller, one of the Rockefellers, I don't know which one, he said that you're not a successful person unless you die broke.
Unless you die broke.
Unless you give. What's the reason of being the richest man in the graveyard?
Speaking with Mr. McKeever Edwards, part of the Tony Cleamons trio here at the CITE restaurant on the top of Lake Point Towers. And we're just going to be asking him a couple of questions about his experiences, and so on and so forth. Mr. Edwards, how did you get involved with Tony Cleamons trio?
Well, I met Tony through my bassist, Glenn Coffey. Glenn and I have been playing music now well over 25 years. And I just moved back to Chicago from Atlanta and been doing some jobs around town, playing with Steve Edwards Orchestra, various other artists. So Glenn and I, we stayed in contact, and he told me about the opportunity to come up and play. So this is what we do.
How difficult it is, how do you become a musician? It's like, do you just say you're a musician? I understand you have to have talent, but do you say you're a musician and all of a sudden you're just going looking for gigs or something to that effect, or is there a certain process that one has to follow?
No, there's a long process. Basically, you have to learn how to play the instrument. You have to pick an instrument, you have to find an instrument that works for you. Then you have to put the time in. You have to play. I played every day through high school, I'd say at least an hour a day before I even went to bed. So you have to work on your instrument because it's an art, it's a craft. You have to work on that and be able to do it well. Then after you reach that point, you start, maybe you get that first job, and then your name gets out there and other people call you up for various jobs. But you have to be well schooled in the instrument and the music art itself. In my case, it's jazz. I play a lot of jazz, so I know pretty much all the jazz tunes. Mm-hmm. So, and being a drummer, the drummer holds everything together. You know, you have the sax player that does his thing, the bassist, and everyone else, but the drummer, he pretty much keeps the thing right where it should be. Basically the rhythm and the tempo. Because when the tempo starts to roll, then it's going to get faster and everything, it messes up. So you're being a drummer, you have to have that meter and that presence just to keep everybody within the right perspective of what they're trying to do. When I play my music, I try to say something with the drum set. And drums are, a lot of people think it's a simple instrument, but every time I go up to play, I try to say something. If we're doing a certain group of tunes, various tunes, I try to make sure that the tunes themselves get played properly, but I try to, get out what I want to say with feeling. Sometimes you can go up and you can just play the drums, but me, I try to play them with feeling and try to interpret what the music wants, how the music should be.
Right. Okay. You find your instrument, you find your area, and you also find the area, the music the style of music that you want to play. How do you get a job?
Pardon?
How do you get a job? How do you get paid? If that is of interest to you, how do you get a job?
Oh, well, basically, you have to be out there initially. You have to go out and hit a lot of clubs. A lot of times you can start with the club set. A couple of orchestras that I play with, I met the band leaders at various blues clubs around town. Oh man, this has been a while back. I don't remember the clubs, but I played in just about every hotel, every club here in the city of Chicago. So initially you start going out and you sit in with bands. You go to open sets where they say, hey, I need a drummer. Hey, you raise your hand, you go up and play. You do well, they'll call you back. You don't do well, they say, hey, it's been good, let's get another guy up. So I've been able to go in, sit in with enough people. So I got a pretty good reputation around town, and I get a lot of calls for jobs.
Right. You said that you try to bring something from you. You try to put something of you into the music. What kind of dialogue can you bring to what can you bring to a dialogue of music?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What are you bringing to the music? Once you say that you bring something in addition to just keeping time and tempo, so on and so forth, what are you bringing? What can I say? Wow, that's McKeever. Wow, that means that's him. That's a signature.
Well, I think I understand what you're saying. I just sat in with a group a couple of weeks ago, and they had a drummer on stage, and I went and sat in. And the whole essence of the gig or the set changed when I came up on play, because I play with a lot of power. Guys I emulate, my dad was a drummer. I was weaned on Gene Krupa, Max Roach, those guys. And those guys played very forceful. Elvin Jones. They played very forceful drums, so I play like that. When I go up to get behind the drum set, I leave it all on stage. I don't, there really isn't a whole lot left when I finish playing. So some drummers play back. I play back, but I'm a very technical drummer. I listen. I try to be as dynamic as I can, because, as I mentioned earlier, when you're playing drums, you control the tempo, but you also control the dynamics of a given tune, whether or not it's too loud, too low, and each tune should build up to a climax, and then you go down to your ending, and then you get out of the tune. So what I bring to the set is just that personality and that power. But I almost can call it a technical power, in terms of I have complete control of it. I can let it loose, and then I can bring it back down, but yet still be within that same rhythm and that tempo. Musicians, I think as a whole, there's a rule of thumb: the faster you play, the louder you play. But I can play as fast as I need to, but yet still be loud, and that's pure dynamics. And that comes over a period of time of working and working at my art.
Let me ask you a question. Jazz is, as you mentioned, I believe you said that it is your area of expertise, was it musically? Let me ask you a question. Does jazz have, should we expect jazz to have a larger form than it does, or is it where it should be, or where it's supposed to be?
Well, I think jazz,
it's always said that, jazz is underappreciated in certain areas. So and so forth.
Well, I think, first of all, jazz is never going to be where it should be, because jazz is ever evolving. Jazz unto itself is an evolving type of music, but yet it still stays the same. That's a bit of sounds like a contradiction, but it's not. Jazz has evolved from Dixieland. There are many different types of jazz, just like there are many different types of music, but if you talk about hip-hop music, that's hip-hop. Jazz, you can have classical jazz, contemporary jazz, jazz fusion. So there are different types of jazz, and various musicians you play. I play all those various types of jazz. So does that answer your question? Or?
Sure, yes it does.
Yeah, okay.
It seems like you also have a, since your father, his style of music was?
My dad played jazz. He played big band.
It was big band?
Big band jazz.
Okay. That is, I'm looking at the way that the members are dressed on and so forth. I'm wondering whether that actually, looking at the atmosphere, I understand that that may have something to do with it, but it also seems like you guys may have chosen this wardrobe specifically because you have a certain reverence towards jazz as well?
Well, this
or am
is
I reading too much into it?
No, I don't think you're reading too much in. There's certain type gigs that you do, jobs, gigs, same thing. This is a black tie gig. It's a tuxedo gig. When you play in a club like this, you black tie. This is a 5-star restaurant. You don't come in here with a pair of jeans on and sneakers. Now, there are some gigs, if I do an outdoor festival, I won't have this on. I'll have on a nice pair of jeans and a t-shirt and, my cap, and I go out and play. But certain levels, certain types of gigs, you have to be professional.
Sure.
And
do you feel that you're also honoring the music once you actually present yourself in a certain way?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the music has to be played properly. A lot of musicians, they just play at the music and they want to get paid. But what we do, we try to play the music properly and play the music in the context of how it was written. Right. So I think that when you dress appropriately, you look like a professional. When you play the music, you're a professional. But on the other hand, there are people that can dress professionally and they can't play the music. I mean, they can come in with a tuxedo, looking as good and as sharp as anyone. But then you ask them to sit down and play the instrument or the music, and first of all, they can't get the music played properly. If you can't play the music properly, you can't get the music out. And what I mean by get the music out, you can't say what the writer of the music, you can't portray what that writer really wanted to say when he sat down and authorized that tune.
Right. You mentioned Max Roach and also some other percussionists and so forth. Do you have anything coming, or do you have anything out where you are the masterpiece inside of an ensemble group or something to that effect?
Oh, you mean in terms of writing or something like that?
Actually, also, do you have a CD? Do you have an album out or anything?
No, I don't have anything out, but we've been...
Any aspirations?
Oh, yeah, we have some aspirations. Now that I'm back in Chicago, we've... a couple of friends of mine, a bass player and another couple of gentlemen, we played together in school. We had a band called Something for the Head, and we've always wanted to get all the guys back together and put together a CD of, and back then now, more so than the jazz, we were playing a lot of funk because we were in school. We went to Northern Illinois University, and we played, that's what we did for a living back then.
Right.
But, now everybody has went to different parts of the country, but every few years we get together and we try to play. So last time we got together, it was wonderful just to be back with the guys and to play. So we said next time we get together, we're going to record, we're going to put something down. I mean, not necessarily for the money's sake, but just for posterity's sake, just because that's what we used to do. I guess you can say when we were kids, or as the kids would say nowadays, back in the day. That's what we did.
Good deal, Mr. Edwards. I want to thank you.
Good.
I'm here with Glenn Coffey here at the Lake Point Towers CITE restaurant, and he is part of the Tony Cleamons trio. And we're just going to be talking with Mr. Coffey about some of his inspirations, why he's here, and what does he feel about his relationships with the trio, in addition to just his feelings on the music that he's playing. Mr. Coffey, what does this music you're playing mean to you? And I don't want to be presumptuous once I say that the music that you're playing primarily is jazz, or am I overstepping myself when I state that?
I consider what we're doing in this particular trio to be jazz contemporary. We're in an environment where the music has to fit a certain ambiance. It's a dinner restaurant environment, so we tend to play music that is inspiring to us, but yet somewhat low-key. But my mind is always not what you play, but how you play it.
Right.
So it's predominantly jazz. We do a lot of classics, as well as a lot of contemporary jazz. We try to mix some things in. Tony's been playing this venue for a little while now, and the trio is me and Mr. Edwards are new to this venue, so we're starting to work up a lot of arrangements and tunes that fit our style.
Right. What does it mean to be a working musician?
That's a good one. I've been playing music for, what, 20, almost 25 years. At least 15 semi-professional or semi-professional. Music to me is, I consider myself a working musician, but it's not my only livelihood. I consider myself as almost a semi-professional. But as a working musician, I have spent time as a working musician where that was primary income. It just means being versatile, being able to play different venues, different situations, being able to cover a lot of different bases. So you have to be versatile, you have to have good ears, you have to be able to read. I guess in a nutshell, that's how I would surmise it.
Is that still a possibility? Of course it is, I understand that, because you see the people that Madonna, the first person that pops into my brain, I guess you would call her a working musician. In addition to some, Max Roach, of course, working musician, this is their primary source of income. On another tier, even though they may not be well known, what can a person who is qualified in terms of technical skills and proficiency, so on and so forth, what can they expect? They have the technique, now they're looking for, that's all they want to do is they want to play music. Is that realistic still today?
Well, it's certainly...
Or is it just too difficult to the point where it's probably not even worth pursuing or something to that effect?
No, it's realistic. It's as realistic as any other endeavor that you aspire to achieve. It's what you're willing to commit to. I chose to have other options for myself so that music wasn't my only livelihood, but for individuals that their passion is only that and they feel that that's the only thing that they could consider themselves being happy doing, it's a matter of making a commitment and being as versatile as possible so that you can cover all the bases in the industry. There's a lot of ways of being able to make a living in the music profession besides just being a musician. So I feel like if you're committed to the passion of being a musician, it might be good to also be involved with some of the behind-the-scene aspects of it. I mean, a lot of the younger artists, I think, now are getting more involved with production and producing and distributing and selling their own material. I think that's very good because it brings into the business aspect of music as well as in addition to just the creative aspect of it. And I think for so many years, people in the arts have been just focused on the creative side and not the business side. So I think if one wants to commit themselves to, really exclusively making a career in music, they should be versatile. They should understand the business aspect as well.
Is this a business where it is slow and steady, or should one primarily expect that this is going to be something that you have to be in it for the long haul if you plan to see any kind of rewards? And I guess actually this line of questioning is based upon me just trying to get some information out there to people. There's a lot of talented people out there, maybe not as technically skilled, but those people that are inclined to become more technically proficient than they are. But I want them to have some information from a working musician, just to before they actually make that step into the abyss and say, I'm a musician. This is what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Well, as a musician, you have to be technically proficient to some degree, depending on what style of music you're covering and what instrumentation you're involved with. There's a certain technical proficiency that's required, and that's something that's you never stop. That's a thing that you're always trying to get better at. So the commitment, you have to have a commitment to that, to always expanding your skills and technique. But in terms of just making a living at it, you just have to be open to, you have to be flexible, you have to be open to different styles. I mean, I think sometimes some of the maybe, and I don't want to stereotype, but you may have a lot of cases where younger musicians are focused on one particular style. I mean, be it hip-hop or rap or whatever. If you're really going to make this a profession, I mean, you owe it to yourself to be open to other styles as well, because that's the more versatile you are, the more opportunities that are available to you. So I think that you just have to be very committed to being proficient in terms of your instrument, and you have to be very open to all the other opportunities that are available in the music industry. And there are a lot of performance-based, creative-based opportunities, and there are also business-related opportunities behind the scenes.
One question I neglected to ask your other, there are other parts of your trio, but I'll ask you this as we're wrapping up. What is the end of the road for a musician? End of the road could either mean death or a plan whereby they can actually set themselves up where it's like they are able to do what they want to do when they want to do it musically or something to that effect. Because sometimes people get into a situation where they are just living paycheck to paycheck or something like that, grinding it out. But it's like, is there another way? Do you see another way for a musician to actually find the end of the road without being in such a desperate circumstance or something to that effect?
I don't think music and musicians is any different than any other profession or any other goal you set.
So you think you can retire from it?
Well, what I'm saying is to be able to, I think the epitome for musicians to be able to play what they like without having to have a monetary constraint involved. That's the utopia, if you will. Now, to do that, I think that you have to be more than just a musician. You have to be a business person. You have to look at opportunities that can help create income and assets for yourself in addition to what you're doing musically, so that at some point maybe the music can be something that is strictly based on what you want to do as opposed to what you have to do.
Your pure enjoyment level of it and the production of it, you're saying? Your pure enjoyment of producing music, that's what...
Right,
okay.
That's the utopia.
That's the ideal, sure. Okay. Mr. Coffey, I want to thank you.
Thank you.